Thank you for clicking on my video. If you love beautiful needlework and you like to talk about it and see designs and examples, then you're in the right place, especially if you hope to be inspired to create your own works of art that you can pass on to family and those that come after us. Just to prove that I'm oriented ×3, my name is Cynthia and my channel is called Stitching in the Light. It is the last day of July of 2019, July 31st, and I'm coming to you from Fort Worth, Texas, where it is 100 degrees outside and the light is really bright. But hopefully that will just allow you to see better the things that I want to show you today. July was a super busy month. I was lamenting my lack of stitching progress until I sat down a few minutes ago and looked at all the things that we worked on in July, or that I worked on in July, and it's no wonder that I didn't make the progress that I hoped for, but I did work on a lot of different things and I wanted to show you. So I thought I would start out chronologically this video instead of doing sections of whips and sections of finishes and sections of haul. My month was so busy, I thought it would be faster to just go in order from the first of the month what I was posting on my Instagram. So I wanted to start out with Cochran Hollow. I haven't been posting pictures of that on my Instagram as much, but I have been posting it on a private group in Cheryl McKinney's 30-minute a day challenge. So I did work on this some, but I did have a lot of other distractions. So I continued to pray for some of y'all as I work through it, as well as my family and friends. We had a long list, so that did keep me busy. I worked on the stairs, filled in all the window panes, I think, since you saw this last, and I had hoped to finish that last edge, but that is still probably a couple thousand stitches. So this will probably take me 2 to 3 years, but I'm not going to be stressed about it because it is beautiful. I'm doing it on 36 count vintage country mocha, and 36 count is probably my favorite linen. It is just a beautiful weight, and I love the way the colors look on it. I am doing 2 threads over 2, which might be a little bit dense, but I really wanted the colors to be saturated in this piece. They're such beautiful colors, and so I'm really happy with that's coming. Hope to finish that last block and start on block 4. The second piece I worked on in the month of July was by Barbara Anna, All Creatures Great and Small. I was able to start this after I finished Love Never Fails. I didn't quite make it in Mania as I hoped, but I started it on July 2nd, and I've worked on this several times throughout the month, so this isn't just the one day's progress, but I love this piece. It's the first time I've stitched on 40 count, and it's very doable, especially with, I find the Stitchy Pop needle or the ball tip needle very helpful with the 40 count. I had bought a petite needle to stitch with this, and that is okay, but I prefer the Stitchy Pop. And anywhere that was pink, I changed to red. There's a kind of pinky tone to the barn and the border, and I changed that to this dark cranberry color. And these are all anchor threads, except for a few that weren't available on 1, 2, 3 stitch. If I couldn't get the anchor thread, if it said it would take a while, I didn't want to delay the whole order, so I just substituted the DMC on I think about 3 of them. But this is primarily anchor, and I really like it. I also changed that little baby. I don't know if you can tell in this picture. My light is awfully bright, as I said. But that little baby is like a little brown sack dress, and I have 3 girls. So in the South here, our little girls usually have bows in their hair, and my girls always wore pink, not brown. So I had to switch that out, and it's not a super big detail, so I didn't think it was a big deal, but it makes me smile because I had 3 little girls that I would dress in pink every chance I got. I like pink, obviously. So I worked on that on July 2nd. The next piece piece that I worked on was in joining in with some sals. I know Priscilla and Chelsea were doing Jolly July with the Fat Quarter Shop, and Diana with It's Kismet was doing Christmas in July. So I pulled out my Lizzie Kate Christmas rules, and this is just such a fun stitch. It's kind of a break for the higher count linens, the smaller count linens, and just, I don't know if you can see that very well. My light is so bright, sorry. The sun is really intense. But I was able to get quite a bit done. Last time I had shown you, I was about right here with the Honor Traditions, and I was able to travel down. I'm a little past halfway. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, past halfway, especially including that top, which needs one more spot filled in. I just do that as I feel like it. But I am substituting a lot of the colors. I had liked things to be a little bit of a darker Christmas palette. These were kind of my inspiration colors that I use for Christmas in my house. Not so much of a, cherry red or Kelly green, but more of a deep burgundy. And this is a French General fabric I got from 123 Stitch, and that's what I intend to put around this border. I think it'll be so pretty. So loving that, really enjoyed working on that, and I have high hopes to have it on my mantle or at the base of my fireplace for Christmas this year. So I didn't get to some of the pieces I had planned on because I was enjoying this one so much, and it was also just some easy stitching that I could use without good lighting. I did some traveling this month, and I really needed a piece that didn't require magnification or lighting. So this got a lot of love this month and renewed my plans to finish it if at all possible. The next piece that I worked on, again, another Sal. This was with Diana again, the Magical Moths Sal, and I'd hoped to make more progress on this, but I have myself a little too extended, too overextended. So I did get some more of that wing put in, and I'm stitching that pink part in silk. It doesn't really look pink. It's almost just kind of like, it's called Strawberry Ice, and that's a good name for that silk. It's just very softly variegated, and I love these colors. I love this piece. It just kind of pops off the fabric. It's so pretty. So that is going to be continuing on my list of things I'm working on, but I might put that away for a little bit. And then on July 13th, I started a Sal that I am co-hosting with Kim from Kim Goldman on Instagram and with Becky from Socks for Mom. And we had all three claim this pattern before it went out of print, or at the last second as it was going out of print. So we had thought it would be fun to go ahead and stitch it. And as Becky shared in her last video, I'll try to link that down below. This piece was found in an antique shop. Here's the antique. In Athens, Texas, which is just up the road from me and the town that Becky lives in. So it had more ties to us. The size of this piece is not huge. It's very doable, and I was able to get the border all the way up, and then I had worked on the vase at the bottom. That was just a lot of solid rows of stitching and just some really fun colors. I am using DMC for the piece, and they are beautiful saturated colors, and they are turning out fine. I was a little concerned that it would be too bright, but as an overall piece, you can tell they still look pretty vintagey. And I did substitute one on accident. I was trying to get this started on July 13th, the day that we had said, and I realized I did not have one of the DMCs that was like a light blue. So I borrowed old blue paint from my Sarah Woodham sampler. And so I have one piece that's variegated, and as I said, I was a little concerned if I do end up over dyeing this when I'm finished. I didn't want any of the colors to bleed, but the light blue should be okay. And I'll just go around the stitching with the coffee grounds, not on it necessarily. So super fun. Both of those Sals are kind of at a higher priority because I'd like to see this finished. Several people have finished the magical Moths out. I know Jen Lee did, and Kim has made quite a bit of progress, so has Becky on this one. So hopefully we can finish that in the next couple months, if not sooner. And July 13th was also a special day. The reason I chose that day, it was my 23rd wedding? Yes, 23rd wedding anniversary. It starts to run together. You forget how old you are, forget how long you've been married. But it was a special day to me, obviously. And I posted as a Throwback Thursday on Instagram the original wedding sampler that I already had. The Barbara Anna one was fun, and I had dedicated that to my husband and I, to our marriage, but I already have a wedding sampler, and I pulled this back out. Hopefully the glitter's not terrible. I shared this on Instagram, but I wanted to give you some different views, and I may insert some photos of close-ups. But this is my original wedding sampler that was done by my best friend Heather. In 1996, and we were 20 years old. So as I was talking to her on Instagram, we live in different states, so we don't see each other at all, not in a long time, but we still touch base now and then. She forgot stitching this. She had said, I'm not sure I did that, I think my mom did, and she was actually with her mom in Maine, and her mother reminded her that no, she had done the cross stitching, and her mother Maxine did all the ribbon embroidery, which is just the piece de resistance of this. I love those flowers, so beautifully stitched. And that does say, I had a little interruption, sorry, I might have to edit this out, but as I was saying, my best friend Heather had put her initials there, so she did most of the work on this. Her mom just helped her. But I love this, and I now know how much work she put into it. So that is a treasure, and I have no idea who the designer is or where she got it, but it's so pretty. So that was for our anniversary, on the same day that I started the Blackbird BBD birds out. So that's just a piece of vintage I wanted to share. On July 18th, I posted a post about my father's birthday present. I had been watching Kitten Stitcher shared her recipe for pierogies. I don't know if I'm saying that right. And it reminded me that that would be a great gift for my dad. He doesn't need much, so he loves to eat. And my grandmother made a traditional German kind of peasant food or comfort food of cabbage and hamburger and bread. And it's an all-day kind of process. It takes a lot of work to make the bread from scratch with yeast and then roll it out and make little pockets for the hamburger and cabbage and onion. And so when I shared it, it was fun though, because a lot of floss tubers, not a lot, three floss tubers chimed in and said, oh, my great aunt made that for me, or my grandmother made that for me. So I did want to share that recipe at the end, and I'll insert some pictures of the Bierochs here. And like I said, that was a labor of love because it is an ordeal. And I remember, I shared on Instagram this, but I remember sitting in a commercial kitchen. My grandmother was such a hard worker. She had been a widow for a long time. When I was a child, she overall was a widow for like 30 years. And so she always had many jobs, babysitting, cooking, working in a meat packing plant, and growing her own food. So she was just as busy as a bee. And so that was kind of a sweet remembrance of her recipe, her signature. She used to bring a duct taped cooler full of Bierochs to her house when she would drive from Texas to Kansas when I was a child. So it had beef jerky and meat that she would share. So we always knew she had goodies in her duct tape cooler. That she would share with us, and it didn't have wheels. She would lug that around herself in her old orange farm truck that she would drive to her house. So that was just a fun Throwback Thursday that I shared. Before I went to Tulsa, I wrapped them up and put them in a cooler myself as I went to visit my dad on his birthday. And while I was in Tulsa, I was able to photograph some of my family's kind of heirlooms that we have from my great-grandmother Molly. So I don't know a lot about my great-grandmother Molly, but my mom said she always had her hands busy. And here's a few pictures of her work here. And then also I had a picture of my great Aunt Catherine's embroidery piece of the United States of America, and it is beautifully done. You can see her skill in every stitch, and it's bittersweet, that piece, because she was my grandmother's best friend. They were sisters, obviously, and she was killed at age 25 with her husband in a drunk driving. She was hit by a drunk driver in 1950. Which you don't think of things like that happening back then, but that's been just a blight on us forever. So her work has a plaque at the bottom that my mom put on there, and I am really glad that that piece has been preserved, and more testimony to how important it is to put our names on things and to share our needlework as it's passed on to generations. That piece is almost 70, 80 years old. So I will insert a picture of that as well. And then finally, while I was in, actually there's two things I want to share. While I was in Tulsa, I was able to go to Silver Needle, and I try to go there when I am in Tulsa. It's just up the road from my parents, about 20 minutes away, so it's just kind of hard to resist. But I picked up a few pieces while I was there. And Mom, you'll have to turn away if you're watching. Give you a second. Okay, this is a gift that I'm going to be stitching for my mom. I picked up the Erica Michaels Sunshine Berry, and it says "You Are My Sunshine" on the back, which is my mom and I's song. She sang that to me from childhood pretty much every day. So I saw that and couldn't resist. I think she'll really like that. And I've already done a strawberry, so I feel a little more confident in tackling that, and have never stitched an Erica Michaels piece. I know that's not her name, but the design company. So excited to do that. And I also got a sampler that I was going to download. I can probably link it down below if you're interested. But I would like to do a more monochromatic piece, I had decided. Sometimes multiple color changes and threading my needle so many times and just making a few stitches is kind of irritating to me. So I had thought I would just like to have a monochromatic piece. And I hope to start this on my birthday in some kind of black silk. And I don't know if I'll make it like a Gloriana Antique Black or a just straight black. I'm going to take it to my LNS and look at some choices. But this was such a beautiful, I think it's called Ackworth School piece. Yeah, Ackworth. I love the way the letters are so random. So I picked that up to start on my birthday. And then I also had a couple other pieces that came in while I was in Tulsa. I had looked everywhere for this Luis Gonzalez piece. It's a Mexican band sampler, or I don't know if they call it a band sampler. Spanish Colonial, but just a beautiful piece. I've seen Jan Hicks and a few others working on this, and because my second daughter is Hispanic, I like to have pieces that have the Hispanic heritage included. So I thought this one was really unique and beautiful. So I'm having questions in my mind about whether I'm going to do it or not, but on my birthday in the end of August, 1 month from today, I may be doing 4 big starts. It's my 44th birthday, and so I haven't decided what there'll be. The 2 there for sure I want to start, but I don't have all the fabric. So it just depends on how much I can get together. But hopefully on the 31st of August, I will be sharing with you some of my samplers and also a collection of sampler patterns that I've collected. So we'll see how that goes. On July 25th, oh, one more thing. I'm getting ahead of myself. While I was in Tulsa, the last thing I wanted to share, my mother-in-law had a quilt on the bed in the back room that I had never seen before, and I commented, those are my favorite colors. I love red and turquoise, and I thought it was just such a beautiful quilt. And she quickly said, take it. You know, I have so many, we don't use it. And I believe it's been in a closet for a really long time because the binding is just fantastic. It doesn't have, I can't see that, but it doesn't have the wear that a lot of the quilts that I have on them. So this was a real treat to be able to get this. I think it was done in the 60s by my husband's grandmother, Zelda. Zelda died in 1976. So it's been a long time that it's been in a closet, and it's just a beautiful example. It's not perfect. I can see some of the points are a little bit off and the colors are kind of interesting, but the red and turquoise is consistent throughout it, and it's just beautifully sewn. So I think of Grandma Zelda quite a bit. I don't know if you can see it. I wear this one diamond earring in my ear, and I've had it in for probably 20 years just out of habit, because Jim's mother, my mother-in-law, gave this to me and said this was my mother's, Grandma Zelda's, that my father saved and gave to her, and then she lost one of the earrings. And I've always had one piercing on this side because I went in with a friend when I was 16 and we didn't have enough to get 2 piercings, so or we thought it was cool. I got one and she got one, so I've always had one earring. So I wear Grandma Zelda's earring in my ear every day, and now I have another one of her quilts. So that was kind of a fun treat for me. And then when I got back from Tulsa, I had some other haul waiting for me. On eBay, I found this Christmas medley. And if you've seen my previous videos, I've finished the garden piece and the winter medley. So they're a lot of fun to stitch, these little medleys by heart in hand. And I had sort of held back from this one because I don't love the end motif there. That angel is a little bit dated to me, or just a little bit weird. But as I was looking at the rest of it, I really like it. I'll probably change the colors a little bit, and I think instead of the angel here, I found a candy cane on Pinterest that I can substitute in there. So I'm going to put a candy cane there, and I think I'm going to do the border every other stitch red and white, so it'll look like a candy cane. I just got to thinking I really wanted a Christmas piece instead of just the winter one, and so this was only a few dollars. I think I got it for $5. I negotiated with a lady on Etsy because she had this. It's hard to find. I've had an eBay search on it for a while and haven't found it for less than what I wanted to pay. These patterns are pretty small. And I negotiated and said, can I have just that piece out of your bundle of 5? And can I pay you $6 including shipping? And she said yes. So it came from Canada. I thought that was a good deal. Happy to have that one. Then on July 30th, the end of the month, I didn't actually post this on Instagram, but I went ahead and worked on a piece that I had put in the August or in the July 24-hour challenge from Medley. I had said I was going to work on several different pieces, and as I said, the Lizzie Kate kind of knocked out a few of those, but I did go ahead and work on an autumn piece that was part of my mania for Cricut collection. A lot of people are stitching on these. My original fabric choice was a dark green, and it was too small, so I didn't even start it. Luckily, I had measured and figured that out, and I went ahead and did a piece of tea and coffee dyed Monaco instead, and just did a little bit on this. I did a lot of that cat and finished a lot of the A for autumn. So not a lot of work, but I just reminded how much I like this design. It's gonna be really cute, and it's not too hard to stitch. The other thing that I pulled out, I had, I think, shared that I was having a lot of trouble with my Little House Needleworks summer ABCs. I could not get the colors right. I tried to make my own substitutions, and for whatever reason they were really glaring instead of prim looking like I wanted. So I finally just scrapped that. I think I restarted it twice and couldn't get it the way I wanted. So I pulled out my autumn ABCs instead and started on that one. And I just did a little bit at the bottom, just the XYZ and the sunflowers. And I've converted some of these. My fabric's a little bit dark. The color they wanted for the sunflower just really blended in. So I used something that I had just dyed myself. And now I'm not seeing it in front of me, but it's just a yellow, a darker yellow. And right above that is a Scarecrow, and he is so cute. I'm having a hard time finding the thread that is part of his overalls. It's Blue Corn by Classic Colorworks. I can't find it in stock anywhere. They didn't have it at Silver Needle. They don't have it on 123 or any of the other Etsy shops I've usually purchased from. So I kind of stalled on that, and I also reminded myself you do not need to start another Scarecrow until you finish your Oz Scarecrow. I had already started the Brooks Books Scarecrow all the way back in February, so this has just been pushed to the back and pushed to the back. It's part of my Finish 9 challenge, and I haven't picked it up and haven't picked it up, partly because I messed up on his leg that's pushed up here. It kept getting too fat and it looked so weird. So I just kind of got frustrated with it and put it aside, but I picked it up yesterday and I knew I didn't have a ton left on it. I was able to finish it this morning. So here he is, all done. And his leg is a little wonky on this side, but he's a Scarecrow. He's supposed to be stuffed with straw, so it's not like he's got to have perfect symmetry with his body. He's got those weird lumpy arms and those weird boots, so I didn't feel too bad about my little oops. But I love the way the straw is backstitched out there. I thought that looked so cute. And I extended the bricks. This is the end of the pattern right here. So I did finish all of him. He is done. But he has, of course, 3 other friends. The next one being Dorothy from the movie. And I wanted to stitch her shoes. They have them in silver because that's how they are in the book, the original book by Frank Elbaum. But I will make them red. So I had hoped to, I thought naively that, oh, I can finish this and then I'll put some red shoes in tomorrow, but I didn't have time. I had to rethread my needle a ton of times to put in all that straw, and it's just hard to fit in stitching with 4 kids. It's been super busy this month, so we're about to move my college daughter to her dorm room, and it's just been an emotional time. The other thing I did, and I might put some pictures in if this is as well, that took up a lot of my time, was we had a painting party at my church, and it's always pretty popular. We had planned for about 50 to paint canvases with us, and we ended up having 90 sign up. So I was the teacher. I had come up with a design, and I'll try to insert some pictures of that here. And so I was scrambling to try to get enough paint and brushes, and we used a hot glue dimensional aspect of the picture, and we didn't have enough, but it was kind of stressful. So that was the other thing I did in July that I forgot to mention. Moving forward for plans for August, I probably will work on most of the whips that I've already shown. I might throw in a few of my Mania pieces or my Finish 9 pieces that I didn't show today, but I'll probably continue to plug away at these that I've shown. I also, as I said, hope to be able to kit up 4 samplers and start those on my 44th birthday. I might even film some of those starts if I can figure out a way to get that put up. So that is what's coming. I may do a sampler collection video separately as part of my cross-stitch organization series to show how I store my patterns and how I use different project bags and waste baskets, things like that. So that may be coming as well. And I will continue to use my Cochran Hollow piece in the morning as a daily prayer time. So I haven't changed my list. If you have any updates about what's going on and need to let me know, then I have my email listed below for private updates, or if you just want to comment and let me know a way that you need prayer for yourself. Again, I'd like it to be something that's for you, not necessarily for other people. But I did feel your prayers this month as I traveled and had that big event with 90 women. My anxiety was put to the test, I would say, but I could feel the prayers and had a fine time with managing all that. So I appreciate your ongoing thoughts and prayers for me as I go through seeing off my oldest daughter to college. There's a lot of anxiety around that, obviously, and just change is hard. So that'll be happening in the middle of August, and I have 3 others to get started into school, and I've started a new job that I'm doing online, so my time will be a little bit more stretched, but I continue to stitch. I've stitched for over a year now. I was looking, I'd started back in July, and as far as I can remember, and I'm pretty sure this is true, I've stitched every single day since I first picked up a needle in July. So I am so grateful for this hobby, as far as the solace it provides and the just accomplishment of making such beautiful things. I never thought that I could do it. I didn't think that it was something that I had the skill to master, and I have a long way to go. I'm not saying that I have it all down, but I've just enjoyed so much this hobby and this group of people online to interact with you and to watch your videos and to hear you comment on mine as well, not just floss tubers but other stitchers. I just am so grateful for the blessing that you've added to my life. I think God knew that I needed this in this crazy last year. It's been so nice. So thank you again for watching, and please leave a comment down below if you had any questions or anything you'd like to see further. And if you had a prayer need or update, I would love to hear that as well. I hope you have a wonderful August. And as I usually close these videos, let the favor of the Lord be upon us and establish the work of our hands. Psalm 90, verse 17.